Hello and welcome in. Today we're going to be talking about Mimikyu and whether or not they're the saddest Pokemon in Pokemon history. So if you don't know who I am, my name is TBK. I cover lore because it's fascinating to me, and we try to dive in and learn as much as possible. And if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, feel free to subscribe to the channel. Mimikyu first was released in Pokemon Sun and Moon, and is, I believe, the only Ghost Fairy Pokemon in existence with that combo. There are multiple references lore-wise to Mimikyu. They're in the video games, they're in the anime, they're in the manga, they even have their own rap song, I believe, on YouTube. I think there's a music video somewhere. And they are widely one of the most loved Pokemon in the universe. Not in the actual Pokemon universe, but in our universe looking in. Going into the fact that they're not really the most loved Pokemon in the Pokemon universe, let's first dive into their Pokédex entry. In their Pokédex entry, it does state that a scholar once looked under its disguise and was frightened to death, basically. It died of shock and fear. The best example we have of that happening is when Meowth and Team Rocket came across the Mimikyu in the show, and Meowth was kind of scared of what it was saying because it could understand it and refused to translate that, but it peeked underneath the rags or the disguise of Mimikyu and almost died. They went through this weird, nightmare-esque trip, if you will, but they almost died to Mimikyu, and they were right on the brink of death. Now, I don't know if Pokemon deal with that differently than humans would in that world. I'm not entirely sure. But you may be asking, why does Mimikyu choose the Pikachu outfit? Well, to talk about that, we kind of first have to talk about why it's disguised at all. Like we mentioned, it could kill people if it saw them, or at least that's the belief. And it really, at its core, does want to befriend people and not just be this lonely person inside a mart or a store, if you will. It would like to befriend both Pokemon and people. It does have a yearning for love, like everything else in this world. This is where it starts to get real sad. So one of the things Mimikyu always saw was how much everybody loved Pikachu. And so in that essence, they kind of formed themselves after Pikachu. But that doesn't mean Mimikyu loves Pikachu. In fact, Mimikyu basically hate Pikachu. They do not like Pikachus. And we're going to get into that further down the line, but it's an important note that they saw how everybody loved Pikachu, and they wanted to be part of that. They wanted to be loved like that as well. The unfortunate side of this is that people were still creeped out by the outfit. It doesn't quite resemble Pikachu fully. It's a little on the creepy side, so people still kind of shunned and just were weirded out by the whole Mimikyu thing. Then, of course, you have trainers like the one in Pokemon Sword and Shield who love their Mimikyu. You have Jessie, absolutely adored her Mimikyu. So there is a group of people that do love Mimikyus. It's just, I think, the wider variety and the wider majority weren't a fan. And they were still kind of creeped out, and they chose to kind of shun Mimikyu and just ignore its existence a bit. It's really unfair if you think about it, because Mimikyu is doing all of this just to befriend people, just to get closer to people and other Pokemon. In fact, if their outfit or disguise is ripped at all, it's said that they will stay up tirelessly, stitching it back together so that they won't hurt anybody or anything of that nature. And once I know a Mimikyu caught sight of itself when it was trying to battle Pikachu one last time in the TV show, and it gave up its own will to keep going. Pikachu and Ash actually had to save Mimikyu. They had to rescue Mimikyu from their own despair of seeing themselves, the reflection of themselves in that water. So I think there's a lot of self-doubt in Mimikyu, and it seems like people still kind of shunning it and everything like that, while also loving Pikachu doesn't fully compute to Mimikyu's mind, because Mimikyu is basically saying, listen, I've done what Pikachu does. I look like Pikachu. I made myself like this so I wouldn't scare you people, and you're still scared of me. Which is where I think the hatred from Pikachu really, exists. It's kind of displaced, in a way, but all they see is everybody loves Pikachu, and they don't love Mimikyu the same way, but in their mind, they have done everything in their power to become more like Pikachu so that people would love them. That's where the sad thing is they work so tirelessly, so hard just to be loved, and yet people instead go to what's popular or what's more cute and lovable in Pikachu, and it pisses off Mimikyu. A really good example of a time that Mimikyu was shown love and compassion is actually in the TV show when Jessie shows Mimikyu the understanding behind what Mimikyu does. Because how it works down, Mimikyu's disguise gets destroyed. Or ripped, I guess. And Jessie is trying to get this Mimikyu a bunch of different disguises. You know, they try different things, but the Mimikyu only goes into a bag. I'm assuming it's because of a sense of shame. They just wanted their disguise, and their disguise was destroyed. So what Jessie does is sitting on a bench talking to Mimikyu. She says, listen, I don't know why you want this specific disguise. I don't understand that. But if that's what you want, then I will work as hard as I can to make sure you have that. And she repairs the disguise for them. She even has to fight off a Murkrow invasion just to keep the disguise. That sense of like compassion and love for Jessie's Mimikyu really strengthened their bond a ton, and is probably one of the only times that specific Mimikyu has been shown love in that way, in that capacity. Like other people weren't necessarily like mean to it, they just didn't understand it. And that's kind of where it is. Mimikyus are very misunderstood Pokemon in the Pokemon realm, which is sad because in our world, everybody loves Mimikyus. I believe Mimikyus are the third most popular Pokemon across like the entire fan voting. So that's kind of where the true sadness of Mimikyu comes from, is that they are working so hard to be something we can love, like people in the Pokemon world can love, and they're not treated with the same closure or respect that they're really looking for, and they deserve it. Like they aren't an evil species. They're not what these people think them to be. They just don't get the love they deserve, and instead they only see the love given to a Pokemon like Pikachu, who's like the mass market Pokemon there, and they just get this sense of jealousy, and it forms into further anger, and that's why they have such a rage against Pikachu and why they don't like that Pokemon. But anyways, that was my research into it. That's what I learned, and I hope you all learned something too. If I'm wrong about anything, feel free to drop it in the comments, or if you want to just discuss it further, drop it in the comments as well. If you liked the video, give it a like. If you want to join me on more lore adventures, subscribe to the channel. Our next video is actually going to be about Fall Guys, and that one I absolutely love. Quick teaser, the lore is insane. I'm talking these people taste with their feet. Anyways, I'll see y'all next time. Peace.